Noah and the flood.
Adam and Eve had to leave the Garden of Eden and settle in a new place.
Yes, because they sinned. They went their own way instead of God's way.
Yep, and after a while they had kids. And then their kids had kids.
Grandkids.
And their grandkids had great-grandkids. Then the great-great-grandkids had kids. And as all those people spread around the world, something else was spreading too. Sin. People were choosing their own way instead of God's way. Fighting, stealing, lying and hurting each other, and making God's world a very ugly place. Until finally, God said,
"Enough! It's time to start over."
Start over? How?
God picked one person to start his world over again.
Noah!
Noah was a righteous man. He tried very hard to make right choices. In a world where everyone was doing their own thing, Noah was always ready to do what God asked. He had been practicing listening to God and being obedient for a long time, more than 500 years.
How could anyone be that old?
People lived a long time back then. Are you all right?
I was thinking about the candles on his birthday cake.
I see. So God said to Noah,
I want you to build a boat.
What's a boat?
A thing you can float in if there's a flood.
What's a flood?
It's when water covers everything. It's why you need a boat.
How big?
Big enough for your family and some animals.
How many animals?
All of them. 2 of every kind.
Then God gave him plans for building the big boat.
Noah was already so old. Building a boat that big would take a long time.
Right. It took Noah and his family years and years and years.
Hey, Dad, are we done yet?
Not yet.
Now are we done?
Nope.
On top of that, Noah's neighbors probably came by to laugh at him.
So it's called a boat. And it's for floating on water?
Yep.
There's no water anywhere.
Poor Noah. He was just doing what God told him.
Yes, he wanted to be God's friend even if everyone else thought he was silly. Finally, one day, a drop fell from the sky.
Hey!
Then another, and another, and another. And then...
The animals started to come?
Yep. God sent them to Noah, and Noah packed them all into his big, big boat.
Now are we done?
Then God closed the door.
We are.
The rain continued to come down, harder and harder. Suddenly, having a boat looked like a pretty good idea. The water rose higher and higher. God covered the land with water so that all the fighting and hurting died. But so did most of God's creation.
That's sad.
It was very sad. It rained and poured for 40 days. And Noah's big, big boat floated on the water 50 days, 60 days, 100 days, 150 days.
That is a long time.
It was. Then, finally, the water started to go down, 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 down. Until one day, Noah's big, big boat came to rest on top of a mountain. And God said,
Let's start again.
So, Noah and his family, plus a bunch of seasick animals, walked out of the big boat into a clean, fresh world.
I have placed a rainbow in the sky as my promise that I will never again flood the earth.
It was time to start again.
Did you love that video? Hit subscribe or ask your parents to download the Minno Laugh and Grow Bible. Ruth's Redeemer.
In the days when Israel was ruled by judges, there was a young woman named
Ruth.
and she lived in a country called Moab.
Moab?
Yep, it was right next to Israel.
So they were like neighbors.
Right. Now, Ruth was married to a man named Mahlon, who had a brother named Kilian, who married a woman named Orpah. Mahlon and Kilian were the sons of Naomi and Elimelech.
Okay. Those names are really hard to say.
They are. People had very interesting names back then. But those names aren't the hardest part of this story.
Oh no! Is the story sad?
It starts out that way.
Oh.
Before they were married, Mahlon and Kilian were living in Moab with their mom and dad because there was a famine in Israel. Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah! A famine is when there isn't enough food.
Right. And that's where the story gets sad.
What happened?
After they moved to Moab, Elimelech died.
That's so sad.
Yes, it is. But then something even sadder happened.
What was it?
A little while after they married Ruth and Orpah, Mahlon and Kilian died too.
Oh no! So Naomi, Orpah, and Ruth were left all alone?
Right.
What did they do?
Naomi was very sad, and she decided,
I have no sons, and I'm too old to work, so I better go back to Israel, where I'm from. But you, Orpah and Ruth, stay here in Moab, where you have family and friends.
So Naomi said a teary goodbye to Orpah and Ruth and started her journey. But soon after, she realized that Ruth was following her.
What are you doing?
I'm going to Israel with you.
With me? Why?
You're my mother-in-law, and I love you. I want to make sure you're going to be okay.
But what about your family?
I will love your family like my own, and I will love your God.
That is so amazing! Ruth was willing to give up everything for Naomi.
That's right. God really loves it when we show love like that.
Oh, thank you, Ruth.
So off they went.
Together.
Yes, and when they were in Israel, they met a man named
Boaz.
Boaz had a nice house and a lot of land and plenty of food. And,
I love God.
yes, Boaz loved God. Boaz heard how Ruth had left her family and country to take care of Naomi. So, Boaz decided he should help them.
That is so nice. How did he help?
Well, first Boaz let Ruth pick food from his fields for free, so that she and Naomi would have plenty to eat.
Wow!
Not only that, Boaz offered to make Ruth his wife, so she could have a home and family again.
Double wow!
And that's not all that Boaz did for them.
What? What else did he do?
He redeemed the land that used to belong to Naomi and her husband.
Redeemed? What does that mean?
Redeem means to buy back, to pay the price so something or someone can be free.
So, Boaz bought back the land that used to belong to Naomi.
and gave it to her as a present.
I love this.
The story of Ruth and Naomi reminds us about God's rescue plan. Just like Boaz had to pay a price to redeem Naomi's land, many years later, someone would be born in Ruth's family who would pay the price to redeem the whole world from sin.
Wait a minute. Do you mean Jesus?
That's right, Jesus, our Redeemer.
Did you love that video? Hit subscribe or ask your parents to download the
Minno Laugh and Grow Bible. Brave Queen Esther.
A very long time ago, in a place called Persia, there lived a king.
Me, King Xerxes.
Xerxes?
Yep, a tough name and, well, kind of a tough king.
Why was he so tough?
He had a bad temper.
What? Who said that? Get rid of them!
Whoa, he does have a temper.
Well, King Xerxes needed a queen, so he searched throughout the land for the best queen of all.
No, 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 no. Hey! Who are you?
Esther.
Now, Esther was an orphan, which means she had no mother or father. She lived with her cousin.
Mordecai.
He worked for King Xerxes at his palace. Both Mordecai and Esther were Jewish.
Jewish? What does that mean?
You see, God's people were called the Israelites because...
They were the children of Israel.
Right. Well, there came a time that Israel split in two. The southern half was called Judah, and the people from Judah were called...
Jews.
Okay, I get it.
Now, the Jewish people were not very popular in King Xerxes' land, and he didn't know that Esther was a Jew. He just knew that...
She is so pretty and kind. I love her.
In fact, he loved her so much that he made Esther queen.
Oh, what a nice story.
Well, not so much.
Really? Why?
Things got complicated. You see, King Xerxes had a friend named Haman.
Yes, like, hey man, at least you won't forget me.
Haman didn't like the Jews at all, and he especially didn't like Mordecai, because Mordecai would never, ever, ever bow down to him. Finally, Haman got so fed up with Mordecai that he went to see the king.
Oh, Haman.
Hey king! Your Highness. I have something important to tell you.
Haman lied to the king and said that the Jews were troublemakers, and the land would be better off without them.
Oh no! I hope the king didn't listen to him.
He did. The king signed a law that said all the Jewish people would be killed.
That's scary! Did Esther pack her bags and go?
No.
No?
Mordecai had a plan.
You have to talk to the king.
Esther was scared. If someone went to the king without an invitation, you could be killed. But Mordecai said,
Maybe this is why God allowed you to become queen. Esther, you can save your people.
So what did she do?
Esther gathered her courage and prepared a feast.
A feast? Why?
She invited the king and Haman, and just as they were starting to enjoy the meal, she told on Haman. She said,
King Xerxes, someone is going to kill my whole family and me.
The king was surprised.
What? Who would want to kill my queen?
That man.
Haman?
He plans to kill all the Jewish people. And I am a Jew.
Like I said, King Xerxes had a temper, and he said,
Amen! Whatever you were going to do to the Jews will be done to you.
No, please, I'm sorry.
That was the last time anyone had to worry about Haman.
Wow, God really used Esther's bravery in a big way.
Yes, he did. God used the bravery of Esther, an orphan girl who became queen, to save the children of Israel.
Did you love that video? Hit subscribe or ask your parents to download
Minno Laugh and Grow Bible. David and Goliath.
Many, many years ago, Israel had a big problem.
Really? What was it?
Their enemy came to attack them.
That is a big problem.
So, King Saul, the leader of Israel, sent out a messenger to ask for help throughout the land. The messenger passed by a town where a man named Jesse lived with his big, strong sons.
The Philistines are attacking, and King Saul needs brave and mighty men to fight.
Well, when Jesse's sons heard that, they said,
Brave and mighty? That's us!
So off they all went, all except for their little brother,
David. I take care of the sheep.
David was too young and too small to go to war. So, instead of fighting, David brought food to his brothers. One day, while he was visiting them, David saw a big, huge Philistine.
Was he one of the Philistines attacking Israel?
Yes, and his name was
Goliath. I'm the baddest, biggest, strongest guy around.
The Philistine leader said,
If your strongest man can beat our strongest man, we will be your slaves. But if our strongest man can beat your strongest man, you will be our slaves.
The Israelite soldiers were really scared. But someone had to fight Goliath.
Who's brave enough to fight?
I will.
You? You're just a kid!
God has helped me save our sheep from a lion and a bear. And God will help me save Israel from Goliath and the Philistines.
Well, it sounded
crazy.
But no one else volunteered. So, King Saul said,
All right, here, use my sword.
Uh-oh. It's too heavy. I'll just use this.
A slingshot?
I use this slingshot to protect my sheep from lions and bears. And I'll use it to protect us from the Philistines.
Then, David picked up 5 smooth stones and walked out onto the battlefield.
He was such a nice kid.
Israel announced that they were sending their champion out to meet Goliath. So, the giant Philistine turned to meet him.
Where is he?
Right here.
You? Ha 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 ha! I'm going to feed you to the birds.
Goliath! Goliath! Goliath!
David must have been so scared.
Maybe, but David trusted God and said,
This is God's battle.
Oh, yeah? Well, this is my spear.
You come at me with your big spear and strong armor, but I come with the power of my big, strong God.
And just then, David slung a stone through the air and Hit Goliath right
between the eyes.
Uh-oh.
So Israel was safe.
And who did God use?
Not big, strong King Saul or his army.
Not Jesse's warrior sons.
It was David because he trusted God.
And when we trust God with everything, God can use us to do amazing things.
Even if we are small.
That's right.
Hey there, friends. I'm Tim Tebow, and I've got an incredible story for you. It is the story of young David as he becomes a man after God's own heart.
Yes!
This isn't just a great story, it's also told in an incredible way.
Don't forget, we have a secret weapon.
A lot of the best animators over the last 20 years are working on this series. There's been very few products that have put this much care, creativity, and excellence into telling a biblical story of God's Word. So don't take my word for it. Go check it out.
Good question, Gabor. How do we defeat them when we're outnumbered 10-1? Enough talk! Talk! Hamas! No!
Minno Laugh and Grow Bible. Jonah and the Whale.
Do you remember what a prophet is?
Someone who delivers messages from God.
Right. Usually, prophets were excited to deliver God's message.
Yes, Lord. I'll do that right away.
But this is a story about a prophet who was not. His name was
Jonah.
Jonah was a prophet in Israel, and one day God gave him a new message to share.
Jonah, I have a message for you to deliver.
Yes, God. Right away. Where in Israel do you want me to go? I'm ready.
This message is not for Israel. It's for Nineveh.
Nineveh?
I want you to tell them to stop being mean.
You're kidding, right?
You better get going.
Jonah was confused.
I'm a prophet for Israel, not Nineveh. The people of Nineveh are mean bullies, and what if they listen to God's message and say,
We will obey God.
Will God just forgive those mean bullies?
Jonah didn't want to forgive them?
Not at all.
Why not?
The thought of God letting them off the hook for all the bad they had done just made Jonah feel sick.
I don't want God to forgive them.
So, what did he do?
I'm out of here.
Jonah ran away.
Oh no! How could he run away from God?
Well, he couldn't really, but he tried. Since Nineveh was east,
I'm heading west.
And he went so far west that he ended up on the shore, where he found
a ship. Now I don't have to deliver that message. Phew.
But as soon as the ship got out to sea, a huge storm tossed the ship around. And the sailors were scared.
Really scared!
I sure would be.
So the captain called out,
Everyone pray so we don't die!
So what did Jonah do?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Not a thing. He was below deck.
Sleeping?
Until the captain found him.
Hey, wake up!
Oh, are we there already?
No, we're not there already! We're in the middle of a storm, so you better get up and pray.
Jonah felt really bad. He couldn't bring himself to pray to God.
Oh, why not?
Because he felt guilty. He was running from God, and he was pretty sure that God had sent the storm because of him. So he yelled out,
"It's my fault! Throw me into the sea, and the storm will stop!"
"No, no, no!"
Well, okay. Grab it.
So they threw Jonah into the sea, and the storm stopped.
Hey, it worked!
Yahoo! Even though Jonah was wrong for running from God, God wasn't trying to hurt Jonah.
He wasn't?
He wasn't?
Nope. God was trying to give him a second chance. Jonah was running away from God, and God knew it would take something big to turn Jonah around.
So what did God do?
He sent something as big as a whale.
You've gotta be kidding.
And the whale swallowed him up. Oh, my.
So I guess that's the end of the story.
Not at all. God protected Jonah in the belly of the whale. And inside the belly of that whale, Jonah prayed to God and said,
"Okay, God, I know you want me to give those bad people a second chance. Please, give me a second chance too."
And just then, the whale spit Jonah right up.
Ew, gross!
It probably was. But now Jonah was ready to do what God had told him. So he ran to Nineveh and gave them God's message.
I hope he took a bath along the way.
Maybe, but one thing we know for sure.
What's that?
When the people of Nineveh heard God's message, they listened, and God gave them a second chance.
Just like Jonah.
That's right. Isn't it great to know that God loves us so much that he gives us second chances?
Did you love that video? Hit subscribe or ask your parents to download the Minno
Laugh and Grow Bible. The messenger.
Did you ever hear about God's 3 promises to Abraham?
Yes, I have. Well, maybe kinda. Well, no.
Well, a long, long time ago, God promised Abraham 3 things. Number 1, his family would become a great nation. Number 2, they would have their very own land, the Promised Land. And number 3, through that nation would come a blessing for the whole world.
Whoa! Yay!
Whoa!
Pretty great promises, huh?
Really great promises.
But then, something happened.
Uh-oh. What?
Jerusalem was destroyed, and the Israelites were stuck in Babylon, far away from the Promised Land. So, it seemed like
None of those promises are coming true.
Israel was supposed to be a great nation, but now they weren't a nation at all. How could a blessing for the whole world come from Israel now?
We don't know.
God's promises confused the Israelites living in Babylon. They wondered if these promises would still come true and if they could still trust God.
Is our story over? Is this the end?
Well, God knew how confused they were, so he sent the prophet Isaiah to give them one of the most important messages in the whole Bible.
In the whole Bible? What was the message?
It's not the end,
Isaiah said.
In fact, just wait till you hear what God is going to do next.
Well, the Israelites were
super excited! Yay!
Why? Because Isaiah told them about the Messiah.
Wait, what's that? The Messiah?
Messiah means anointed one. Samuel had anointed young David with oil, which means that he was being set apart by God for a very special job, to be king of all Israel. And now Isaiah was saying that there was another anointed one coming.
A baby will be born. He will be called Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, which means God with us. But he would also have another name. The baby would be from King David's family, and he would grow up to rule God's people forever.
Wow! Forever is like a really long time.
It turns out the hope of the world wasn't a mighty nation or a big army. The hope of the world was going to be...
A baby?
You got it. Now, can you guess the baby's name?
Oh, I know. Jesus.
Did you love that video? Hit subscribe or ask your parents to download the Minno
Laugh and Grow Bible.
Born in a barn.
Do you remember God's 3 promises to Abraham?
Actually, I do. His family would become a great nation. They would have their very own land, the Promised Land. And through that nation, a blessing would come for the whole world.
Right. Well, after 1,500 years, 2 of those promises had come true.
Amazing! And what about the 3rd promise?
You mean the promise of the blessing for the whole world? The one that promised the Messiah? The anointed one?
That's the one. Had that one come true too?
No.
Oh.
Many years had passed since the time Isaiah had spoken about that promise, and the Israelites, well, you can imagine what they were saying.
Where's the blessing?
Where's the Messiah?
Is he ever gonna show up?
Oh, we're starting to lose hope.
But then, something amazing happened.
Really? What?
In a village called Nazareth, there was a young woman named
Mary.
One day, God sent an angel to give her a special message.
A special message? What was it?
The angel said,
"You will have a son."
A son?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not even married.
Mary wasn't married yet, but she had promised to marry a man named
Joseph.
Then the angel said something truly amazing.
The baby will be a blessing for the whole world. He will be the Son of God.
That's the promise they were waiting for.
Yes, Mary would give birth to the Son of God, the blessing for the whole world.
That's so amazing!
And if you were shocked to hear about this, you can imagine what Mary must have felt like. Why, you would think she would have passed out and fallen on the floor right then. But Mary was brave. She trusted God. And she said,
I am the servant of the Lord. May this happen just as you have said.
Wow! Mary really trusted God.
Yes, she did. Then the angel said,
The baby's name will be Jesus.
Was this the Messiah the people had been waiting for?
You got it!
I knew it! So then what happened?
Well, When it was time for the baby to be born, Joseph and Mary traveled to a place called Bethlehem.
Was that a long ways away?
It was, and they got there by...
A donkey! That must have been hard.
I think so. And on top of that, when they got to Bethlehem, they suddenly needed a place for Mary to have the baby.
Oh, did they look for a hospital?
They didn't have hospitals back then.
What about a palace? I mean, the Son of God should be born in the best place, right?
Well...
Or the best hotel?
All the inns were full.
So, what did they do?
Since all the inns were full, Mary had her baby in...
A barn.
A barn. The blessing that Israel had been awaiting for almost 2,000 years was born in a... A barn.
Oh, my!
Mary didn't have her baby in a fancy palace or a nice warm inn. Nope. Jesus was born in a stinky, smelly barn next to cows and sheep and goats and chickens. The promised blessing for the whole world had finally come, but he didn't arrive quite the way people expected.
Did you love that video? Hit subscribe or ask your parents to download the Minno.
Minno Laugh and Grow Bible. Big changes for Saul.
Jesus' disciples were very busy in Jerusalem. The Holy Spirit had come and they were boldly sharing the good news.
Jesus died for our sins.
With everybody.
I'd like to follow Jesus.
I'd like to follow Jesus too.
Wow, so many followers.
Yep, and now it was time to spread the good news all over the Roman world.
How would they do that?
Oh, God had someone special in mind for the job.
Peter?
Nope.
John?
No.
Andrew? Matthew? James? Simon? Bartholomew?
No, it was a man named...
Saul.
Also known as...
Paul.
Saul was his Hebrew name, but outside of Israel, people knew him as Paul.
So, Saul was Paul?
Yep, and he was also...
a Pharisee. And like all good Pharisees, I want to make sure everybody follows all the rules, all the time.
Remember, the Pharisees thought Jesus was breaking all the rules. So, they had worked with the Sadducees to have him arrested.
They wanted to hurt Jesus, and they did.
Right. Well, Saul was so concerned about the rules that after Jesus died, he made it his job to...
Arrest him! Arrest her! Arrest them! I'm making it my job to arrest as many of Jesus' followers as I can. Ha 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 ha!
So Saul, who was Paul, was a Pharisee?
And an enemy of Jesus.
But how could God use an enemy of Jesus to spread the good news about him all over the world?
Because even though Paul was going one way, God was about to turn him around.
How?
By stopping him in his tracks. You see, one day, Saul was traveling to a town called Damascus, hoping to find more of Jesus' disciples.
I'm gonna arrest him, I'm gonna lock him up, I'm gonna
When suddenly, a bright light hit him right in the face.
Oh!
A bright light?
A very bright light. And then a voice from heaven said,
Saul, why are you trying to hurt me?
Who was it?
That's what Saul wanted to know. And the voice replied,
I am Jesus, the one you are trying to hurt.
Jesus was talking to Saul? Paul? Wow, he must have been so surprised.
And even more so when he realized that
I can't see! I can't see a thing!
Suddenly Saul was blind. Then Jesus told him to go to Damascus anyway and wait there.
Why?
Because Jesus had a follower there named
Ananias.
Jesus spoke to Ananias in a dream and told him to go find Saul.
You mean the man that came to arrest us? The one who hasn't stopped making trouble? That mean man? Why do you want me to find him?
Then Jesus said,
He is the one I'm going to use to spread the good news about me to everyone, to Jews and those that aren't Jews, and even to kings.
So, what did Ananias do?
He trusted Jesus. So, when he found Saul, he prayed for him, and something amazing happened.
I can see! I can see!
Wow!
Then, something even more amazing happened.
What?
Saul became a follower of Jesus.
Double wow!
And then, something even way more amazing happened.
What could that be?
Hey! Jesus is the Son of God! Hey, you! Jesus is the Son of God!
He started telling everyone about Jesus. So, Saul went from being Jesus' enemy
to being Paul, Jesus' friend.
And more importantly, a disciple.
I've got to tell everybody about Jesus! Anywhere! Everywhere!
Whatever Paul did, he did with his whole heart. And now that he met Jesus, he was ready for God to use him to turn the Roman world upside down.
Do you want more Laugh and Grow Bible?
What do you mean?
Sign up for Minno and get more Bible stories and loads more amazing shows.
Wow! How cool is that?
Minno is a great place to stream Christian shows for kids.
Amazing!
Download the Minno app and start your free trial today.
Yay!